I was actually looking forward to this one. And I think the timing is pretty good because pretty much every minute, 9,000 job applications are submitted on LinkedIn, which is huge. It's a huge amount. Like that is pretty much double what we were seeing 2 years ago. So that obviously creates quite a lot of volume. And in Australia, job vacancies have actually dropped. So meaning there are more people applying for roles and there are less roles being advertised, which means that obviously standing out is super, super hard in this market. And so here we go. That's why Chloe is here today. And look, before we getting into sort of your presentation, do you want to sort of give us an introduction of who you are, who you work with, and that?
Absolutely. Well, thanks for having me today, Freddie. I think it's such a great idea to, be running these kind of webinars, especially from your perspective as a recruitment agency, because, as myself as a career coach, I see so much, but then it's a very different side. As I've been in a recruitment agency myself back in the day, I understand like you see other market insights that everyone else is not privy to. So I think it's such a great thing that you're running these workshops. So for everyone joining, who we've got here today, Angus and Jackie. I know Jackie, she works with me. So for people joining today, and then I know there'll be a lot of people joining the replay. A little bit about me is my background's in recruitment, talent acquisition for about 6 or 7 years. I got made redundant when everyone was getting made redundant. Love that for all of us. Anyway, I decided to go out on my own after that. I thought, I wonder if there's an opportunity here with the knowledge that I have to start talking about how to answer interview questions, how to write CVs, how to do your LinkedIn. And I started social media pages. Those social media pages grew to about 10,000 people in a couple of months. So I thought, right, clearly there's something here.
Yeah.
Following that, 2.5 years later, in that time, I've built up a career coaching business where I work with people one-on-one. I have clients in group memberships, online webinars. And I also do content creation in the careers space and job search specific, as well as now stepping into the AI space where we are creating AI coaching avatars. So that's a whole new world that I'm getting familiar with. But obviously,
That's
always love jumping on these webinars and talking about how as a job seeker we can navigate this, as Freddie was saying, difficult market that we find ourselves in.
And the timing couldn't be better, literally, because every hiring managers or recruiter I'm talking to, we all say the same thing. We are literally drowning in job applications. Um,
Mm,
there's a lot of people applying for roles, but the number of people actually getting a job or getting an interview hasn't changed that much. Um,
right.
so, in terms of what you see, like, what do you think is happening and what can candidates do to
Yeah,
stand out in this market?
for sure. So I think, and Jackie will have heard me say this a lot, but the big part of getting seen now is part of it is putting yourself out there. And what I mean when I say that is using platforms like a LinkedIn to really build your networking presence, but also to build your own personal presence on there. So it's one thing to just send out connection requests every day. It's a completely different thing to have your profile in a very strong position where anyone can go on your profile and know exactly who you are, what you do, what your expertise is, what you can bring, what your value is, and for you to then take that and pitch yourself into companies that you want to work at. Not waiting for, and I know it sounds daunting and I know it's a lot of work, but unfortunately, as Freddie's saying, it's such a saturated market now. We have to be doing things to stand out. So, doing something like literally putting together your own self-pitch email or message and reaching out to companies you want to work in. I worked with a one-on-one client. I work with people around the world. So this client was in the US, where it's even more what's the word, trickier to get seen because there's obviously so many more people over there.
Oh,
And
yeah.
we literally were pitching ourselves into all the companies we wanted to work for. What we found was a really strategic move is, and no shade against recruiters, Freddie, but we would, instead of reaching out to the recruiter, we would actually reach out to the
Correct.
manager whom they might work in
Yeah, yeah,
specifically.
yeah.
And it was all about like, this is what I can do. is there an opportunity in the future? If so, I'd like to chat, because I'm sure, Freddie, you can speak to this. As a recruiter, you might be working across 20 different jobs, but you're only advertising 3 or 4 because, that's,
Absolutely.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
it. And the same for HR managers and everything. Like advertising, not only is a cost, but also you have to manage the candidate communication from the moment that you advertise to taking them through the process. So I and many businesses do the same. We don't advertise all the jobs that we have. In
yeah,
fact, like we probably advertise only a portion of the jobs that we have.
yeah.
Which
So the
means that
more,
there is a lot of jobs out there. They're not even getting to advertisement stage, but there are people that are still getting those jobs.
yeah.
So
Yeah, so it's very important now to try and get in with really good recruitment agencies. And again, Freddie would speak to this, not to reach out to too many recruitment agencies, just try and find the ones that work for you, and then pitching yourself into companies. And this is something that we're going to touch on today. So Freddie, do you want me to jump into
yeah,
my little
please.
slide code? Yeah, great. Okay, let me see if I can work this. Should be able, one sec.
Do a bit of a screen share. Yeah, yeah.
I also want to say, everyone that's on the call today, if you do have questions or you want to contribute or put your hand up for anything, please do. This is an interactive webinar if you choose for it to be. So just let us know. So I'm just going to bring up my little slide here, I'll share my screen.
Yeah. Awesome.
Okay,
Yes, this is a pretty good topic.
that's working, right?
Yep. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And
Uh,
you probably need to click on, yeah, on X. And
Great. We're good? Okay. Cool. So first thing that we're going to touch on here, just to give some insight around like these some of the most common interview questions, and two things before I go into it. First thing is I have two screens, so I am looking at another screen. I'm not looking at people. Second thing is if there's specific interview questions people want me to speak to, I can quickly touch on that as well. So the first three we wanted to go into today was tell me about yourself. What are your strengths and why do you want to work here? Why us? Why do you want to work here? Now, generally speaking, these are not only questions you'll get asked in an interview, but these are the questions you actually need to know when you're pitching yourself in. So knowing, having that tell me about yourself spiel down, your strengths, why you want to work in certain areas, having that very clear in that pitch and for your interview technique is what's going to make you stand out. So with your tell me about yourself question, there's a strategy that I always recommend for this format. Now, 90-second career story format, I would always say to try and keep it to that 90-second time frame. Of course, sometimes it's going to go over that, and that's okay. It's okay if it's more, if it's 2 minutes, if it's a little bit more. The most important thing that you're doing is keeping to a specific structure that keeps the attention of the person you're interviewing with. I'm sure we can all agree here that when you speak to that recruiter or whoever you're in that room with in that interview chair, it's so critical to get their attention in that first 5 to 10 seconds, otherwise you'll lose them. And the other part of it is if we speak for too long in that tell me about yourself, again, you're going to lose the person that's interviewing you because there'll be too much information there. And we really just want them to get a high level overview of where you started, what you've done, why you're here today. So this is what I speak to in terms of this structure, where you started, some key transitions, recent results, and tie it to this role. So what are the decisions or moves you made that got you to where you are today? Keeping it at high level without diving into the detail is what you want to be looking at because the detail comes later. They'll listen to what that answer is and then say, okay, so you spoke about this in your tell me about yourself question. We want to hear more about that. So don't feel the pressure to tell them every single detail about what you've done in that answer. So I've got a bit of an example here for you, which just to share, all of this will be available for you post call. But this is just quite a generic template as to what this might look like. So actually started my career in this industry back in this year, quickly developed a real interest in 2 or 3 skills. That interest led me to take on a role at this place where I found my strengths in, you list your qualities, whatever they are. From there, I moved on to this place, which built on those foundations. For example, you want to share like a concrete achievement or evidence of that. Then you want to speak into what you realize you value the most, which speaks to what I've realized through my time working is this is what's important to me. This is what I want to do. This is what I'm good at. So then, since then, you've continued to hone your skill set in this area, which has then made you realize you want to focus on this. which has brought you here today. So that's a bit of a idea or a premise of how I recommend, or structure, not premise, sorry, wrong word, structure of how I would put this together. Any questions on that? I know we're on a timer, but I would like to hear if anyone on the
It's
live
a
call has a question. Yeah.
it's a great structure. I like
Yeah.
it. I
I'm
like it.
glad the recruiter
And this is
approved.
one of the yeah, this is one of the questions that usually people cannot respond and they start like waffling about like some
Mm.
stuff that's completely unrelated to the question. So this is a really good structure.
Thanks, Freddie.
Yeah.
Angus, I saw your mute's off. Did you want to ask a question or?
No, I think it's yeah, really quite a solid structure. I think that's
Mm,
yeah, I agree. I've been for a few interviews over the last month, having not really sort of having to interview for maybe close to 10 years. And yeah,
Mm.
that is yeah, pretty concise, right? So yeah, less is more sometimes, and yeah, keeping it as
Yeah.
tight as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, as I said, Angus, they'll listen to what that is and then they'll ask for more detail further
yeah.
in the conversation.
Totally.
As being in having been an interview myself previously, one of the biggest things I was taught is it's our job to ask questions. So if we want to get more information out of a candidate, we've got to ask the questions. We're the ones running the conversation. It's not your job as a candidate to run the conversation. You're there to answer the questions that they ask you, and that's pretty much it. Um, cool. Okay, moving along. So next one is what are your strengths? So your strategy
Mm.
here is choosing 1 to 2 role relevant strengths. Now, what we can sometimes fall into the bucket of, or the issue of doing is thinking of what your just general strengths are. And you might have those general strengths, but when you're interviewing, you want to keep it role specific. You can think of like a core key competency, like a soft skill, like, your communication or whatever that is, but only if it relates directly to the role. Then you want to have a brief example and link to your impact. Again, we've got a little example here. So this is actually when I worked with a client, and she was in the operations space, so all about like looking at messy systems and processes and cleaning them all up. So one of my key strengths, if I could articulate it, is taking chaos and turning it into a clear plan. In my last role, I did X, and then she kind of goes, "I'm also strong at building trust quickly, something that's helped me lead teams and influence stakeholders, even when I was wasn't the most senior person in the room." So she speaks to both a technical skill for her role as well as a soft skill that's going to complement that. So that's kind of what you want to focus on with that key strengths question. Any questions on that?
As well, you've got a tangible number there. I
Yeah.
have cut training time by 25%, like making it really specific what you did and within what timeline. It's
Yep.
good.
Yeah. Perfect. Cool. So the next one as well, and obviously this is going to be nuanced because we're not speaking to a specific company here, but that why us? Why do you want to work here? So with this one, what people can fall into the trap of doing is just simply listing companies' key values, looking on their website and like, oh, you do X, Y, and Z, and that really resonates with me, or you have a really good reputation, like just the generic stuff that they're going to hear from every single other candidate. So we really have to think about, okay, what do I generally need from this company to help me move my career along? And that's what's going to really motivate your answer to this question, which is why I've got here. So you do want to put like what you admire, your values, mission, recent news, and you'll see what that means in the example, how your skills align, and your overall career objective. So an example of what that might look like is, so you do want to speak to the company specifically. So from what I've researched stands out is commitment to doing this specific task. I read about your recent partnership with this, and oops, sorry about the typo. That's exciting to me because I've worked in startup environments where operational clarity was really important. I'm drawn to roles where I can bring structure to scaling teams, and this role and your overall goals from what we've discussed in the interview align with my overall career objective of getting to this point. So you want to have clear when you're answering this question, what is your career goal and how does this role and organization fit into that? So if you think, okay, well, in the next 5 years, you don't have to be like, my goal for 20 years' time is this. In the next 5 years, I want to be here, and this company and this role will help me get there. Companies don't need to hear you say, I'm going to work with you forever. They just want to know that this isn't something that you're going to sit in for 6 months and then leave. They want to get reassured that this role in this company is a very relevant part of your career, and they just want yeah, as I said, they want reassurance around that. Any thoughts, questions on that? No, all
Oh,
clear.
Yep.
mhm.
Cool. I think the most important part of it is like, yes, you can speak to what they've done, how important it is, and how great that is, but it's really what ties you in personally. That's what they're going to really listen to because the other stuff is just ego, is hitting them like, oh, yeah, we do great things and you're interested in that. That's great. But how does this relate to you personally? That's what's going to get the message across. Again, you'll have access to these templates and I'll fix my typo. Cool. Okay, so I know, and I'm rushing through this a bit, but as I said, any questions, please let me know. So now we're going to go into networking strategy. Now, as I said before, networking is one of the biggest things that is going to help you get ahead here. But we need to have a strategy. It's more than just sending connection requests every day and hoping that someone's going to respond to you and have a conversation. It's about, okay, well, how can I make this work for me? And most of us don't really like doing it. It's not like it's a joyful task to start sending out messages and get rejections and not have anyone accept your connection request and go to a networking event and go, why am I here? I don't want to talk about myself. This is really embarrassing and awkward. Like, it's not like it's a fun time, but sometimes it's a time we have
I
to do.
feel that
Yeah.
for a lot of people, even that personal brand on LinkedIn, like there's a lot of people that
Yeah.
have never posted or find it really hard and they're thinking,
Yeah.
okay, where do I even start and how do I show up online without feeling, cringy or like
Yeah.
pushy or
Yeah.
overly self-promotional in a way. So that's a really,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm curious to hear about this one.
For sure. Well, firstly, just quickly on that, it's always going to feel awkward and cringe when you first start posting. That's inevitable. Everyone's going to feel that. I think the thing to remember is you're doing this for you. You're not doing it for the people that choose to cast opinion or judgment on what you're doing. They're doing that because that's their own insecurity projecting onto you. They're like, oh my God, I can't believe she's posting that. That's so embarrassing. And it's like, because they can't post it. So there's always going to be that person in the corner, but the person that you'll get the attention of through posting something authentic or posting something that means something to you, the person that does hit is the person you want to see it. So that's a comment on that there. But just going back to the strategy piece, as the networking you do today is what will bring you the opportunities next year or sooner if you're lucky. So it's not something that we get instant gratification from as well. Like it's not like you send a message, have a conversation, they're like, yeah, let's hire you. That can 100% happen, but a lot of the time it's all about, constantly working on those connections for opportunities that come down the track. And I have plenty of examples of how that's happened to people in my own network. Firstly, though, you want to identify your audience. So who are the people you want to connect with? If you just connect with a bunch of randoms on LinkedIn, they're the kind of people that are going to keep showing up in your algorithm. So you want to be quite targeted with, okay, who are the kind of people that I want to reach out to from like a peer's perspective, like who's doing what I'm doing, or who are people that are working at the same at companies I'd like to work for from like a same level perspective. Who are recruiters, like, I'm looking at what Freddie does, and if she recruits roles that you specialize in, if she specializes in roles you work in, reaching out to her. So specific recruitment agencies, inspiring leaders or CEOs that you would love to work for, just targeting your audience as to people, or I guess pillars of audiences that you want to target, and just be quite specific with that. Don't feel that you need to overwhelm. So if you pick 3 pillars of people you want to target, just keep it to that. So that could be like these specific recruiters, these specific people doing what I do, and these type of managers working at these organizations. You could work it like that. Realistic approach. What I mean by that is if you haven't been networking, if you haven't been reaching out to people, you're not going to help yourself by going, okay, this is the week, I'm starting, I'm going to send out 100 connection requests this week. Start small, maybe just for your first week of doing it, send out 10 in the whole week, and that's 2 a day, realistic. So set up a realistic approach for yourself that's going to work with your time, your energy, and all of that. So just be realistic and articulate your goal. So what's the goal from your networking? Are you purely just wanting to build your network to have more connections? Are you trying to get work? What is it specifically that you're networking for that will drive the motivation and discipline behind actually doing it? Because as I said, as we're not getting instant gratification from networking, it sometimes can be, a bit of a drag to keep doing it. But if you remind yourself of what your goal is and your target, then that will help you with that a little bit more. And getting out of your comfort zone, unfortunately. What I mean by that specifically is when you're sending out these connection requests, if you're sending out 10 connections or 10 reach out emails or 10 messages to pitch yourself into a company, you might get one person come back to you, but you're going to get a lot of rejections as well. And being comfortable with that and just acknowledging that that is going to happen is part of the process. And it's okay. It happens to everyone. It happens to me, happens to Freddie, happens to all of us. Like, not everyone is going to get on board with us. So they're just some key points when you're thinking about your strategy. Any comments, questions on that?
I think that's a good approach. A couple of interviews I've had recently, and just in general, when you're sending out a lot of emails or even applying, I'm finding AI is filtering almost all your resumes, right? So, a couple of roles that I've actually been really interested in, I've been reaching out to. So I work in sales, so typically people in sales are pretty receptive to someone either emailing them, cold calling them, or just contacting them through LinkedIn. So finding someone either head of sales or GM of sales, that's been pretty good. So most have been pretty open to that, and then just sending quick note and then sending them my resume just directly to them, right? And then that's led to a couple of interviews, and I've been shortlisted for a couple of roles as well. So it's I think that's the way to approach it. Obviously, you apply through the appropriate channels they ask you to, but I think you just get caught up with so many other applicants that way. And I think people at least listen to you, and you mightn't get the job or you mightn't get the role, but you definitely get a connection. And as you said, you probably maybe not thought of for that role. It might be another one in a month or 6 months or 12 months later.
I think you nailed that,
useful,
because even, sorry, I'm just jumping in, but I think you nailed that, because if I think about the amount of jobs that I advertise, I get maybe 100 of application via Seek or via LinkedIn, but not many will just email me direct and say, "Hey, Freddie, I saw that you're advertising for this job. Do you want to maybe have a chat about? I can tell you more about why I think I am a good fit." So I think you reaching out directly to the decision maker, hiring manager, or HR department is a really good move.
I'm curious, Freddie, to hear your thoughts on this, because a lot of issues that my clients have is that they'll be reaching out to hiring managers and recruiters, and the recruiters are just not getting back to them. Curious to hear your take on the kind of channel that people should be trying to reach out to, and any tips on that.
I hear that all the time, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Recruiters work, like, to be fair, recruiters work on huge volumes, so sometimes it's not possible to reach out to respond to every single one. I think, like, the best thing will be having a process where you manage somehow to get back to people, even not personally, but maybe with an email or something. But what I was saying to Angus is that usually I receive applications via the usual channels, Seek or LinkedIn. Not a lot of people approach me directly. If somebody approaches me and takes the time to read the job, research me, and message me, I will usually, like, 99% of the time, will make the time to, give feedback or do something for them. Yeah.
So what I just heard there, which I think is a really good takeaway, is taking the time to put together a very personalized message. So researching you and who you are, what you do. And I know that takes more time, and sometimes they might not have an email address, but if you have the email address or the contact, putting more into the message, that's what I hear there. Yeah. Cool. Okay, just more on the strategy piece. So what's your presence on LinkedIn, and sorry, not where, what do you want it to be? So profile needs to reflect your personality. It's all well and good to have all of your skills, expertise, jobs, but if I look at your profile and I don't know what kind of person you are or what your values are or what's important to you in the work that you do, then it's quite generic, or I guess that's more what the CV is, because your CV is obviously a more snapshot. But LinkedIn, you really want to have your personality come through there. And you don't need to do a bunch of video, like, you don't need to put a bunch of content up to talk about yourself. But in that about section, even in your tagline, you want to have insights into, as I said, into your values, into that piece around, like, this is who I am and this is why I do what I do. This is what I do outside of work, just so people can resonate with you. And what's really important with that is that if an employer is looking at your profile and they read that, if what they read resonates with them and how their company culture operates, then that's going to be an advantage point for you, because they're like, oh, this person sounds like someone that would really work well in our team. So they're getting that taste of your personality. And of course, there's going to be biases here and there, but that's just a really important part of why that personality needs to come through in your profile. And there's a lot of how around how you do that and put that together. We have resources that we can share with you on that as well. More engagement more equals more visibility. So the more you're engaging with content, as I said, I'm not saying you need to post every day or anything like that, but commenting, which I've got here, your methods of activity, connecting with people, commenting on content that is relevant to you, and if you are up to that, if you are up to it, posting yourself. But these are the kind of methods of activity that you do want to be engaging in. So articles, posts, what people talk about, writing your own comment. Like no one, and if you're worried about writing comments, maybe start with posts that have a lot of different comments on there. So, you know, no one's going to be like, oh, who is this one person that commented? Let me read what they have to say. Get comfortable with doing it first in a way that feels okay for you. But no one's going to be sitting there and reading through all your comments. Just want to put that out there. But what that could do, as a quick example, is just say someone posts and they're talking about the fact that they're hiring or it's a role. I would highly recommend, and one of my clients did this and got an interview. They posted they were hiring for this role. She liked the post, she commented on the post, and she sent them a message all in quick succession, and they had a conversation with her. And yeah, she was like, "Oh, this is really embarrassing. Like I'm posting that I'm keen on the job, but I'm like, do it. Let's see what they do." And they came back to us. So that's just you know, one of the methods you can use there on LinkedIn. And when I say how do you want to be seen, just briefly, you know, do you want to be an active candidate or active on LinkedIn? Do you want to be a thought leader? What does that mean for you? Like, I think it's, you know, start thinking about what you want your LinkedIn profile to do for you. Take it really seriously. Think of it more as, instead of it just being some page that you have your jobs on and people can look at, think of it as a page of, okay, well, what does LinkedIn mean for me? Like, what am I going to get out of this page and what do I want it to do for me? Once you get really clear on that, then you're going to spend, as I said, you'll take it more seriously, you'll spend more time making it work for you as well. But I think just getting clear on what that is can help with that strategy. Okay. Oh, just cool. Now, I just have some quick examples here of like some networking templates. I'm conscious of time, so I won't read through them, but we'll be sending you through a bunch of networking templates. I have like a list of 20 different templates that you can use that we'll be sending through to you. But these are just quick templates that you can use for those little connection requests. So if you're sending a connection request to someone on LinkedIn and you've only got the 300 characters, there's some examples of what that might look like. Of course, these are very generic, so you want to just kind of use those as inspiration, make them your own from there. And then this is the more detailed one around pitching yourself in. So when you find a company that you really want to work for, or someone you want to work with, like someone you want to work for, this is more detailed, and you're obviously going to have to be connected with them or have their email address. But this is actually the template that my client who got, we pitched ourselves into a huge amount of companies, and then he got, I think, maybe 15 interviews, and 70% of those interviews were through using this template that we put together. We kind of finessed it, made it really strong, which is why I've got those details in there, but this can definitely work. I've seen proof of it working. But again, you'll be sent this as well. Cool. Anyway, that's it from me today. Any questions on those documents I quickly whizzed through?
No, that was really great. Thank you. Awesome. That was learned heaps.
Great. Thanks, Angus. Appreciate your input.
Yeah, it's been great actually, because again, like sometimes you just need a bit of a framework to actually, you know, take action and take a little bit of ownership in your job search. So it's really good.
Awesome.
And if anybody wants to connect with you after this or learn more, like what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
For sure. So look at a little page here. So if you
There
want,
you go.
if you want to follow
Yeah.
me, so Instagram, TikTok, Career Coach Chloe, connect. I think I'm not sure if my LinkedIn link's on this, but we'll send it through anyway.
Yeah.
You can go on my website, read about my coaching programs. I've worked with Jackie here one-on-one, and she's in my membership as well. So I have multiple ways people can work with me. We can work together in a one-on-one capacity. I work with people for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, depending on what your goals are, whether it's end-to-end job search support, career development. Some people I'll help them get a role and then I'll work with them through probation. Whatever stage of your career you're at, I can help you with that. But I also have membership programs if you're wanting like a monthly membership where there's a group of us and we do live chats twice a month. I share resources, things like that. So there's a couple of different ways that you can work with me depending on what your needs are. But of course, would love to just connect with you as well. I'm always open to connecting, always open to having a chat.
It's awesome. That's
Thanks,
awesome.
Freddie. And thanks for
Thanks so
having me,
much for
Freddie.
your time. And obviously, you guys for coming in. If you have any other questions, Angus, Jackie, or Maurice, like I'm pretty sure we all connected on LinkedIn. Shoot me an email or a message, and then to Chloe as well. So we're always here to help if we can.
Yeah. And for anyone watching the replay back, because I know there was a fair few registers there, feel free to contact us as well if you have any questions that weren't answered on what we shared today.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. And
Thank you.
yeah, we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chloe. Thanks, Freddie.
Thanks,
Bye for
Freddie.
now.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
Bye.
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 Thanks. Bye.